Skatter for you today. But firstly, I want to really give a big thank you to the Sketchucation team, which have organized this event and which have been a really great support for me in Skatter. So thanks to them, I think at the end of the event they should get a big applause. Just some information about me. I'm a 3D artist. I do renderings for architects, and I've been using SketchUp for many years now, mainly during my architecture studies, because I've not been, I graduated only 2 years ago, so pretty young, you can see. So during my studies, I've been doing more and more rendering in SketchUp, because I really love SketchUp, I love using it and working in it, but it can be frustrating sometimes, particularly when I started doing a lot of vegetation rendering, using a lot of vegetation inside the renderings. SketchUp couldn't handle it, so I had to move to 3ds Max, and this was really big frustration. So I looked into a way to do that in SketchUp, and that's how Skatter started. I won't be standing during the presentation, I will be sitting because I need to use a mouse, and on the stands it's not really practical. So if you cannot hear me really well, please tell me, because I have tendency to speak quite low, and besides I will be sitting, so don't hesitate to tell me to speak louder. Alright, so I get right into it, because I think a lot of you want to see how it works and what you can do. So I won't be chatting too much. So the basic idea of Skatter is to be scattering components or groups on surfaces or long curves. So it works pretty straightforward. You can create any surface you want. You group it, because everything has to be a group to work with Skatter, because it's completely parametric. You can change parameters after you have generated everything. You can go back to edit your setups in groups after you have closed and reopened SketchUp, etc. So that's why I'm creating a group for my surface here. And let's say I want to scatter a lot of sticks on here. So I just open Skatter, and here you see I have a rollout, which is called surfaces. I just click button, select my surface, and you see I already have some insertion points. And then I just select my objects, and I'm done. And so now I can edit. So just goes back to the preview, and I have a lot of options for random rotation, random scale, mirroring, etc. So, and then just generate again. Well, of course you cannot really see the rotation because it's a face me component. So just to go a little bit more onto the rendering side, I have started this project for me actually. At first, I didn't intend to make it public when I started this. So that's why you may have the feeling that it's focused on rendering, but actually you can do whatever you want. You don't have to do anything at all. You can scatter whatever you want. Just I have created a library, a content library for rendering. But here I have a few grass setups, so I can just choose one, load. I choose my surface, and now I can render it. It works, and as you can see, there is nothing in the viewport, but it's being rendered. As you can see, I have a full geometry, full grass geometry on my surface, and it's really, really lightweight in the viewport because nothing is generated in the model. render engines guys to bypass SketchUp. Actually, all the data is directly sent to the render engine, so your file is really lightweight, it doesn't lag or anything. It's really fast. So that's it. So the library will get more and more content throughout the new versions. So just to get back quickly to how Skatter works itself, I just create a new one. Delete this one. Okay, so just to create a new one, to show you a bit more all the options and parameters you have access to. So let's say I want to create a small object, I want to scatter on my surface here. So I'll make it a component, so that we can edit it later and everything will be updated, but it works really fine with groups out, so you don't have to use components. So as I did before, I choose my surface, I choose my object, and now I can generate if I want, but I have a lot of options for distribution. So here you see I chose, this is the default, this is a uniform distribution, so it's kind of random, but not completely, because with a true random generation, you will have clusters and balls, and sometimes you want pretty uniform distribution, but kind of random. So this was intended mainly for grass. As you can expect, grass to be really uniform surface. So it's actually a grid underneath, but so we have spacing in, well, let me start with grid so you can see what it is. So grid is just square grid with spacing in the x-axis and the y-axis. So if I put 3 in the x, you see I have 3 meters here and 1 meter in the y-axis, the green axis actually. And so I have rotation also. I can rotate with this is in degrees. So the units, the length units are in the model units. So now I'm using meters, but if you switch to inches or whatever, it will work as well. I mean, if I was in inches, this will be 3 inches. Right? So yeah, grid is pretty straightforward. If I switch to uniform, it's pretty much the same, but you have jitter parameters. So jitter is actually, if I go back to jitter is a percentage, a random percentage between the spacing here. So this item here could move in all this area, but not further. So it will be kind of random, but not too much. So if I go to uniform here, I can put 50%, and you will see that we see a bit more the grid itself. If I go to 20%, you see it aligns on the grid. You have a true random generation distribution, so here you see you have more clusters and holes. So sometimes that's what you want. And so you just have a simple density parameter. It's the number of items per unit. You can generate on vertices, so here I have only 4 vertices, but if I add a complex geometry, all vertices will get 1 item. The same goes for faces. Oh. Okay. It's still in alpha state, so it's possible that during the presentation there will be bugs and maybe crashes, but obviously for now it's not yet on sale, so there is still a lot of work to do to really fix all the bugs. To continue, let me open another model I've prepared. So it's a simple terrain, just just a shape like this. To show you a bit more parameters. So I take the same as before. I have all my items scattered on my surface. And I have, here you see, normal parameters. So it means for now, all the items are pointing up, as you can see here. But you have all the range, a range between the up vector and the normal. The normal being, if you are not familiar with what the normal is, it's completely perpendicular to the face. So here you see it's perpendicular to the face, and I can go in between and choose with the slider what I want. You have altitude range, so you can say to the plugins, okay, so after a certain height from the origin of the model, you stop scattering items. So I can go higher, maybe 30 meters, and you can have a follow-up. Let's say it's 30 meters follow-up, so it means between the 0 and 30 meters, there will be less and less items scattered. The same goes for the bottom. If I put 5 meters here, below 5 meters, nothing will be generated. The same goes for slope. So if a slope is too steep, like for now the parameter is set on 80, but you can put a lower value like 50, 40. Okay, so you see this slope is steeper than 40 degrees, so nothing is generated here. So it can be useful for a mountain or a very slow, very steep slope where you don't want some trees to be scattered there, but everything else. And you have follow-ups as well. So you won't have this hard edge. You can tell it to have a density follow-up like this, so less and less scattered items, but you can also tell the plugin you want a scale follow-up. So here you see it's smaller and smaller as you go into the slope. We also have collisions. So let's say our object is much bigger. Now if I preview, they are overlapping, so maybe I want them not to overlap. So I can check collisions. Now you see they are not overlapping. And we have the multiplier of the size. It's based on the longest size of the item and draw the circle around. If I put 50, you see it's denser at the top. And we can have multiple items, of course, multiple scattered objects like this. I just choose it here. And here you see, here you see all the little ones are much closer one to the others, and they are not overlapping the big ones. When we have multiple objects like this, we can have probabilities. So let's say I want the big one to be less present in the big object will be scattered on the surface. So I can put like 20% probability. So here you can see there is less big ones than small ones. You can put any value. So that's collisions. One of the big benefits of this plugin is that you can use areas. So obviously at any point I can just generate, and it will generate everything in the model. As you can see, it's much slower. So the red preview is much better for previewing what you're doing like this. I can draw an area, like let's say a circle, I want only, I will make a group as well because everything has to be a group. Let's say I want items only in this area of the surface. So here I can go to the area rollout, select my area. I untick this box because it's considering that the boundaries of the surface is an area. We don't want that for now, so there you go. And so you can see it's a vertical projection of the circle. Even though it's far away from the surface underneath, it's projected. So if I put the view above, you can see it's following the circle. So you can have an area like this. You can move it and update, of course. You can rescale it. That's it. And one big feature is painting areas. So you can create a new paint area here. You select a brush radius, let's say 5 meters for this. And I can paint, and this adds automatically items available in the area. Then let me just this backpack and move it over there. Okay, just update. Okay, so much denser. You can have fall-offs also, density fall-off from the boundary of the area. So, let me remove this one. Just make it denser. 1.5 like this.
So each area has a separate setting?
No. You have one set of settings for every area, but you can create new scatter setups.
Yeah.
I hesitate to do each area settings per area, but I think it's better to keep it simple.
Yep.
for the users. So I have density for all. So as you can see, if I put a bigger number like 5 meters, you can see it's, when it's going away from the boundary of the area, it's getting less and less dense, more and more dense. Sorry. So it can be more dense. And the same goes for scale. Here you see if I disable density for off and I just scale 10 meters here, you see that when it goes to the boundary, it's getting smaller and smaller. You can put a value to have at the scale at the boundary of the area.
Negative numbers.
Sorry?
We have negative numbers, like negative distance for the scale.
You can invert the form for this. So here the areas are overlapping. So that's something I need to fix. But here you can see, if I keep it 0, you can see you have inverted form for this. So it's big at the edge, and then it's getting smaller and smaller until it disappears. The same goes for density. You can invert the form. So you have only on the edges, you have items on the edges. And of course, the paint is considered to be an area, so I can go and edit it again, and it will just update like this. It's not static, so you can always go back to your parameters and change everything.
Can you go into an individual tree and take a couple of instances out?
You can also, yeah, it's in the surface right. You can take these two and just add a few of them where you want. And it's completely separate from the surface, so you can click it whenever you want. And you just add them. So, just to finish on the areas, yeah, I can paint obviously I can erase also like this. You can use the areas as exclude. So let's say I want items everywhere except in the areas. So let me uncheck this. And then I say to the areas that they are excluded. And there you can see I have excluded all of these items. And I can always go back and paint again. You have random transformation. So here you can see they are all aligned. Every item is aligned with the original. It's just a copy. But you can transform them randomly. So here I have rotation. You have these are default parameters, but you can put anything you want. Let's say I want in the z-axis to rotate them between 10 and maybe 40 degrees. You can also scale them to anything value. So it's pseudo-random, so you will get predictable results. Each time you edit the setup or you reopen SketchUp, you will always get the same pseudo-random stuff. So it looks random, but it's actually not so. So it's interesting because sometimes you always want the setup to look the same. Like if you have placed trees, you want to get the same placement when you reopen the model. You have horizontal mirroring, so it just flips the items, and you can translate them in an axis. So let's say I want to scatter them in the vertical direction as well. So let's say between 0 and 20 meters, and there you can see the outline. Or I can put negative values, -5. And you are always keeping the area. So as I was saying, you can always render only your setup. So you have two modes. You have normal mode, which is when you click on generate, you have actual components in the model like this. So it's actual geometry. You can go in and just remove the content. But if you regenerate again, they will appear again. But you have a second mode, which is render only. So that's interesting to you if you are doing renderings. If I edit it, just like this. So let's say I want to see everything you see on the screen will be rendered, but it won't be present in the model, so it will be very lightweight. So I check render only, and then it generates, and then I can go to my renderer, and there you can see there is nothing in the viewport. You just click render and go. So you can scatter hundreds of thousands of components and render all of them without getting SketchUp to scroll. Because obviously when you have way too much geometry in SketchUp, you cannot achieve it. It's only its needs.
Can you render the views for like inside interior rooms or
Yeah, of course.
glass?
Yeah, you can schedule anything you want. It's just an example. I'm outside, but I can create. I can do that in a room. Like I had some users do this with a rug. They create a little rug. I don't know how it's called. Yeah, and then they scatter on the surface to create a rug. So, yeah, you side. So I have to work with the developers of the render engines to make it work. So for now, it works with Via, Twilight, V-Ray, Kaki, but more we come.
Will you develop some parametric?
Sorry?
Will you develop some parametric solution? For example, imagine you got a cube surface on the building and you want to adjust some square in this curved surface, and the things you scatter will adapt to be like a parametric object. You know what I mean? Like we can do it with Revit, for example. You can produce a piece and cover a cube surface.
Yeah, of course you can do that.
And
Here you can see it's all one component. So you can have very subtle random transformation. It can be really subtle.
but it works already or not yet? This option.
What do you mean it works already?
For example, if imagine this is the shape of the building,
Yeah.
this cube, and you decide to cover this surface with square glasses, for example. And some part of the glasses will have to adapt their shape
Oh.
to cover the surface.
Oh, you mean bend them?
Yes, bend them and
No, that's not.
size them like parametric object.
That's
So
not.
by extension, it could be an option, you know, in the future.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's possible in SketchUp actually. Yeah. We will have to create a lot of unique components.
Okay.
It won't be the same anymore.
Mhm.
But yeah, I can imagine mine. See what I can do. Just to finish on the presentation, you can scatter along curves as well. So here I have a curve, and I can select it here, and you see it scatter along this. So it's considering that there is only one axis, which is x, that is going along the curve. So let's say I go back to my distribution options. I pick gray. Okay, let's remove all the random transformations so you can see better. So here you can see it's really regular because I chose gray, and the spacing is giving the distance between the items. But if I choose another mode, it works the same than the surface. You can have also, you can choose objects as exclude areas. So let's say I have a building somewhere here, and you have like really big trees. I'm just using some cubes so you can see it easily. Something like this. Just say I remove this. I will remove all the other areas so you can see here. And let's pick. We cannot really see it, but it's okay. And so I select my cube, and you can see that nothing is generated in the cube. There are some overlapping, but we can fit that with an option. It's nice. And so it's also a projection. So if I have it way higher, like this, then I can rotate it anywhere I want, like this. And I update, and here you can see the shape that is being projected now. Let's make it less dense so you can see it better. So yeah, more features will come in the future, but what you see here is what you'll get for the first public version. I won't add any more stuff. I will just, for now, I'm focusing on bug fixing and a lot of other stuff like licensing and stuff. But yeah, that's it. So do you have any question about it?
If you change the light, does Skatter moves with that light, that part?
If I move the
The other light.
in fact, yeah, I can.